ranking all Angry Video Game Nerd episodes from worst to first. Today, I'm going to start from the bottom of the shit barrel. Yeah, with my F- tier episode starting now with episode ranked 212. Vegas Stakes. This episode was painful for me. Early in the episode, when talking about casino games, he says,
"What am I going to explain about all these games? I mean, what am I going to go into all the rules of blackjack and just get all into it? I'll just sound like an instruction manual."
Which sets up the entire tone of the episode. Nothing to say. We go through some parody, then non-sequitur transitions to games, continuously pointing out that there's not much to review about the games, and then back to the parody. Like, if there's not much to say, then don't say anything at all. Like, don't do an entire episode about games you have nothing to say about. I hated the voice, I hated the sets, I hated the poor green screening, the awkward references to past episodes. I hated the parody, which I was completely alienated from. By minute 12 of 26, I was convinced this was my least favorite nerd episode, and I couldn't wait for it to end. Seriously, I only plowed through it for this video. Some might be saying, you don't get it. You've never watched Fear and Loathing. But to me, that's not great parody or even great comedy. My favorite episode of The Simpsons, for instance, was a Citizen Kane parody. I laughed from beginning to end even before I knew what Citizen Kane was. The Simpsons, South Park, and other great comedies parodied stuff all the time, but didn't alienate their fans. Knowing the source material may have helped, but it wasn't a requirement. If this was your thing, more power to you, but I think a lot more fans might agree with me on this one. 211, chronologically confused about Kingdom Hearts. Right off the bat, the nerd says something most fans already knew.
Now, I'll admit, I haven't played any of the games so far.
The grifting for views here was palpable in this episode. On top of it all, it was supposed to be a chronologically confused episode, and yet he goes into an entire history of the games and their stories.
But one night, the islands are attacked by evil monsters called the Heartless.
Which confuses me, because he started the episode with how he never played the games before and then jumps into details with plot points about the games. He then even complains about issues with continuity. Again, for a game that he, James, the nerd, whoever, never played before. So, who exactly played these games? Kieran? Does Kieran exist in this universe? I'm fine with there being writers for the nerd, but there still needs to be some continuity. Like, if the nerd character says, I didn't play the games, then it makes no sense for him to go into great detail about the games themselves.
If you think you can play just the main 3 games and know what's up, then, think again.
He even starts getting annoyed about plot points, stating, well, that's all well and good, but how about explain all that shit? Explain what shit? You've never seen it.
These new characters are never mentioned anywhere in the first game, but all of a sudden they're the main characters? I haven't played any of the games so far.
The nerd was originally grounded by James and Mike, who were a voice for the audience that expressed a real kind of frustration for these games that many who watch played in the past. This incredibly fake anger rings hollow and is symbolic of the kind of zombie AVGN that existed in this time period. Even towards the end, he says,
but these games so far are pretty decent.
Like, again, which is it? Did the nerd play the games or not? This feels like a script written by 3 people who each wrote a page and stapled them together without any proofreading whatsoever. Here's a quote.
While the Disney stuff is kinda weird, it never feels out of place in the game's universe.
How would you know? And what irony, talking about something being or not being out of place. This whole episode was horribly out of place and horribly misguided. It maybe could have gotten away with being just an episode about how the titles had him too intimidated to ever start playing, but instead got padded with incoherent, fraudulent fluff. Number 210, Hudson Hawk. The crime of the Hudson Hawk episode is trying to use old material that makes little sense given the game. He spends much of the episode making typical nerd jokes about how the game doesn't tie in with the movie.
The movie made more references to Nintendo than Nintendo actually made references to the movie.
The problem is the joke doesn't really land because it's about a movie that no one ever watched or a game no one ever played. And he never shuts up about whether this is in the movie or not.
We are heading deep into the territory of, remember that from the movie? In the movie, he does throw a baseball. In like one scene. Next, we're on top of the Vatican, which actually happens in the movie. Man, there's a lot of electricity in this game. In the movie, I can only think of one instance where he gets zapped. By the end of the stage, it does follow the movie closely. Are there any sloths in the movie? I don't think so. In the movie, it's what they call Da Vinci's helicopter, but the game just says fuck it and makes it the mirrored crystal. Up till this point, it sort of followed the movie, but now they just gave up. Are there dogs in the movie?
Well, I have no clue. No one does. I don't know anyone who watched this movie. Like, seriously, name me one child, one, that was disappointed that NES Hudson Hawk didn't tie in with the original source material. What plagues the whole episode is going back to old tropes which don't fit the content.
Did they run out of ideas?
We even get cutscenes of the Hudson Hawk movie throughout the episode.
Stage 2, your mission is to rob the Vatican.
Robbing the freaking Vatican.
As if it's gonna elicit the same kind of nostalgia from the Back to the Future episode.
Holy shit!
And out of nowhere, Shit Pickle just shows up.
How'd the shit get on your head?
Shit pickle, shit pickle, shit pickle, shit pickle. Pickle, 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 shit pickle, shit pickle, shit pickle, shit pickle, shit pickle.
Then he leaves again. Like, again, is this supposed to get nostalgic fans excited? It's Shit Pickle, not Luke Skywalker. Heck, maybe a visit from, say, Mike Matei, Bootsy, or Kyle Justin might have been nice. Alright, never mind, those days are long gone. Ultimately, there is no point for this episode to exist. 209, Aladdin Deck Enhancer. You guys knew this was coming. First thing I noticed, this City James is 21 minutes long. Would an episode about an NES add-on be worth this much time? Oh, for fuck's sake. Fred fucks, yeah. Our favorite Tony sets up the parody.
Did somebody say Aladdin?
Oh, are these all the games here?
Yes, nerd. It's a whole new world of gaming.
Oh god, what does this add to the episode? Are we really going to come in that hard, playing on the idea that this Aladdin shares the same name with this one? Have we really sunk this low? Okay, I guess it was never high art. About 3 minutes in, and I'm expecting to see how the deck enhancer works. Instead, he does a joke where he buys a Micro Machine game only to get a thermos with wah wah. It's also Aladdin. It activates a genie, which gives us this creepy thing.
Since you freed me, I'm gonna grant you some wishes, nerd.
This review's getting pretty fucky.
Yeah. Now, if he's going to do an Aladdin parody, a movie where you're flying in an open world magic carpet of Arabian wonder, it doesn't really work with middle-aged men cooped up in a tiny room playing pretend, or when your writing just sucks. Like, for no reason at all, he tells the genie,
Well, then I wish for you to go swimming in a septic tank.
when the genie was just granting him wishes. Like, why? The nerd was a character who was frustrated for actual reasons, however trivial. That's what made it funny and relatable. Getting angry at a genie who's done nothing but grant you wishes just makes him a sociopath. I can't relate. I actually was entertained when he got back to some of the gaming content.
He has 2 of them? Nobody has 2. Who would own multiple copies of something that shitty?
I thought that was funny, but then I get bangers like,
Pet Fluffle? What's a Fluffle?
I'll say it's the fluff that goes into an episode when you pad it with nonsense to get your watch time high on YouTube. Somehow, the less he has to say, the longer these episodes are. You know what really gets me? Is that a third-party add-on to enhance NES games like the 32X did for Genesis sounds like it has a really interesting backstory. And instead of giving us an episode like Sega CD or 32X, he gives us Tony shitting on the toilet. You would think that all this padding was because there weren't many games or much to say about them. Instead, it was the worst combination. There were a bunch of games with nothing interesting to say about them. After about 15 minutes, we get the punchline of the whole episode provided by the gaming historian.
This is all just marketing hype. The Aladdin Deck Enhancer is no different than a standard Camerica cartridge.
But there's no payoff because he gives us zero narrative tension about, say, if in the beginning he purchased the enhancer and then got all excited about it before meeting his disappointment. Instead, he wasted all that writing on completely unrelated crap about nothing. So there's nothing to fuck about because your character didn't give a shit about the thing in the first place. Sure, it had some solid nerd moments.
They went out of business right after it was announced. It was a death sentence.
But in the words of the nerd,
Does that one make it worth it? No, it doesn't.
after 16 minutes, it gets somewhat interesting, but he keeps referencing the gaming historian,
Not even the gaming historian found any clear proof that it ever got officially released.
which makes me think, should I be watching his episode instead? Probably, as James has a way of slipping in clues about why these episodes shouldn't exist.
I had no business complaining about something that didn't even come out. I wasted my breath.
Finally, as if there wasn't enough incoherent padding about unrelated topics, we get this weird ending of E-celebs I don't care about having their deck enhancers explode.
You got it, dude.
Ultimately, if someone cut out all the fluffle, we might have something pretty decent. Instead, we get a whole new nerdy turd. 208 Sega Activator. I wasn't a fan when this first dropped, but is it as bad as I remember?
Dude, I got the present.
Oh no, another shitty James! Shitty James! Shitty James! Why must I be cursed with all this shitty James? I expected it to be great like the NES Accessories or Power Glove episode, but this? I didn't get it. But luckily there's a commentary track where James explains it to me.
It's a reenactment of how two children might play with games.
Great, but then why do I have a character who looks like he belongs on a list? And I don't mean Santa's list. Yeah. Most of the episode revolves around slapstick. Like, this part is funny. We've all had this experience doing seemingly great things with an accessory only to get our asses beat. But there's a lot left to be desired, and James' defensive-sounding commentary track suggests the fans pointed all that out.
There's some people who look down on slapstick and think slapstick is an inferior form of comedy. You can watch a Charlie Chaplin film from the 20s and it doesn't suffer any time gap.
James, I love you, but we can't compare this to one of the greatest performers of all time. Here's some brilliant Charlie Chaplin. Why does it work? Narrative tension. There's something at stake for Chaplin's tramp character. We're invested in the outcome. Like, there's a hilarious payoff when he tries to escape a lion only to find a tiger, or when he can't get rid of a baby that's not his, or when he needs to perform these gags to avoid the cops. Most of this slapstick is just guys hitting each other and then enjoying it.
And then he smirks, as if he likes the pain.
James, again, I love you, but what the fuck are you talking about? When did I start watching nerd episodes to enjoy creepy-looking men getting bizarre satisfaction from physical pain? It's not relatable. See, as with Chaplin, great AVGN has narrative tension at its heart, like the older accessories episodes, where we learn how these accessories are meant to enhance the player's experience,
You rock back and forth, which controls the D-pad.
but feel the huge letdown delivered through the nerd's frustration.
This thing is the biggest shit biscuit I've ever seen. Adventure Island keeps walking right, Excite Bike keeps going down.
It's another hunk of plastic.
See, it's clear why you should care. But here in this episode, like when the activator keeps pausing, but the characters just move on without any frustration. It's weird. It's not human. It's not AVGN. And I know this is in the review of a commentary track, but he says some dubious things here.
Also, I really love these overhead shots.
Of what, your 3x4 room?
I'll be right back.
I don't know why that's so funny.
Nobody knows why you think that's so funny. But the reason this episode ranks so low is because those really attuned to AVGN noticed something off with this episode, and it's clearly expressed in the commentary.
My true intention is creating original content rather than just critiquing pre-existing content. I would feel no satisfaction if every single video was just me sitting on the couch talking about a game. Otherwise, it's just a job. That would get boring. At least I would get bored, and if I get bored, you'd notice. The videos would suffer.
And honestly, I just feel bad for James when he says that. See, episodes like this and Vegas Stakes, I wanted to love. I'd want for James to be able to experiment and for it to work brilliantly. But sometimes, the thing that made him the most famous isn't the right vehicle for the things he wants to do creatively. I started this list many years ago, back when I liked almost every episode. I stopped around the time this came out. It was a turning point episode for me, and I didn't want to rank some of the later episodes that I really didn't like. Years later, my thinking evolved a bit, and I'm doing the nerd on the nerd as kind of an homage, while also examining why I think an episode works great and why I think it doesn't. Thank you for taking the ride with me. 207 What the? What? What the hell am I watching? Normally I'd open with a snarky joke, but this is far from the worst part. What you're watching is from the most bizarre, incoherent episode I've ever seen. It's one I forgot, one I think we all forgot, so bad we suffered from psychological repression. And it's one of the unholiest nerdy turds I've unearthed. I'm sorry for digging out this fossilized feces. This is Jurassic Park Trespasser.
So I'm gonna say the magic words. How bad could this be?
Yeah, now that's what I'm talking about. Look at that arm flopping all over the place. Bad frame rate, background glitching. I feel at home already.
Oh, fun. We're gonna get an episode like Big Rigs.
Wait a minute. What's this? Plane ticket? Huh. The tropics. Yeah, you know what? I could use a vacation. Screw this game.
Okay, maybe not. So, a Jurassic Park parody. I'm so confused. Is this supposed to be a cheesy joke? I mean, I love good cheese. But, like, for a guy who pioneered good YouTube production quality, how did we go from this to this?
It's a dinosaur. Look how old that computer is. It's a dinosaur.
Now remember this?
I mean, I'd rather eat snot and diarrhea vomited out of a buffalo's dick, and if you thought I was serious about this game, you're absolutely right, because I was just kidding.
See how there's at least some threatening quality? It's a skit with some reason to care. The whole story, we're feeling the tension of him being forced to play this game during the imminent threat. It makes the comedy work. This just gives us random scenes thrown together with awful costumes and no character building at all. He remains in this one spot the entire episode, barely seeming to care, accepts playing the game for no reason, but gives us a history lesson while he's at it.
Judging by this game's reputation, the only thing EA should be giving out is apologies, a legacy that continues to this day.
He then goes through a bunch of glitches, and again, this should be great like Big Rigs. All the material is there, but then you see the fatal flaw of modern AVGN, telling instead of showing. Like, here's Big Rigs.
No. That didn't happen. Oh, there it is!
It's like he's going through the experience with you. It's almost second person. He's playing the game and taking you on a ride with him. Then there's this.
And the background's still glitching. And it's not the worst, but it's still pretty buggy. The environments are meant to be immersive with plenty of things you can interact with. It hardly works.
You're not going through the experience, you're being talked to. It's a fundamentally huge shift in tone. Another major shift?
Hey, what's up, nerd?
Oh, it's that boundary break guy.
I got this mysterious message to call this computer, and it's asking me to help you understand Jurassic Park Trespasser a little bit better.
Well, how fantastic. A guest appearance from a web creator doing nothing similar to what the nerd does.
You can see the different stages of the heart hidden underneath her skin here. Also, her legs seem to be a rotating cube that rolls like a ball cube. Collision detection is not that great.
By the way, while I have you, can you send a rescue party here to get me off this island?
Oh, you're trying to leave the island? Wouldn't know it from the episode. And it just goes on and on with boring explanations.
Every time you start a new level, you lose your weapons. Sometimes you can pick up new ones quickly, but they're weaker than the ones you had before. Even when other dinosaurs do show up, most of them mind their own business. I know what you're thinking. Do they have a T-Rex?
No, I'm thinking, when is this shit explainer video going to end?
These levels are gigantic, by the way. Nothing interesting except for maybe this piss pond.
Oh, another classic modern AVGN trope. James is telling us there's nothing interesting, and yet we're not even halfway through a 24-minute episode. I mean, really, how many of these episodes am I going to watch where he says there isn't much to say in the script that he wrote?
There are some Easter eggs you can find, but it's not worth the time.
No shit, James. 12 and a half minutes in, I'm watching James continue running through this boring explanation, hoping that that's all there is so I could wrap this up, but then...
All right, let me check on the kitchen.
It's 2 o'clock in the morning. I just need to give my real-time reaction. I obviously have not seen this episode in a long time, and I watch it, and I'm watching it thinking, okay, fine, it's going to be some paint by the numbers, it's going to be a little dull, and then we get, I don't know if it's a Kieran classic, but we just like totally just do these like 180s in all these different directions. We're just going all over the place. What does this Hell's Kitchen thing have anything to do with Jurassic Park? What does it have anything to do with an episode where he's supposedly stranded on an island? Why is there a computer on the island? Why is he playing a game on the computer? Why are there supposed dinosaurs in this environment made of blow-up dolls, and he doesn't even seem to care? Like, if there's gonna be a dinosaur, then, like, care. Like, be afraid of the dinosaur. Of course, you're not gonna be afraid of that stupid thing, so maybe it should be something interesting. But, like, what? There's all this stuff. There's all this stuff. And it all amounts to nothing. Well, maybe there's gonna be more nonsense. I don't know. Yes, this is real. This is really part of the episode. Can't say Dusty Justy isn't right for the role. Wait, he could give us those dinosaurs? Then why didn't we get these? Justin is actually awesome at this part, but unfortunately, it's surrounded by confusing non sequiturs. That means it doesn't make any fucking sense.
This level reveals that Site B was home to an indigenous race of people mentioned in the novels. You find one of their temples, but surprise, it's booby-trapped.
When is this going to end?
No matter where I jump, I fall. Let's try something I learned a long time ago. Yep, you can just walk over it.
Haha, remember that from AVGN?
Could this be the huge, epic T-Rex battle I've been waiting for? No. It's just a big raptor who kills himself. Man, this sucked.
I'm chuckling, but you'd expect this punchline from an episode where the nerd's frustration was mostly from not getting into a big dinosaur fight the whole time. But I guess he couldn't resist the Shit's Kitchen sketch instead. Say that 3 times fast. Yeah. But whatever, 18 minutes in and we'll tie up some loose ends and wrap this up.
You didn't say the magic word. I'm Seamus Blackley, physicist and game designer.
Oh my god, seriously. We're not going to introduce a new concept to this episode, are we?
I was the executive producer of Trespasser before that, so I can answer any questions you have about the game.
What happened? Was this game actually finished?
No, this game wasn't actually finished. This was a game from a brand new publisher, DreamWorks Interactive. They weren't very experienced, and I think I was 27 or 28 years old.
What in the fucking hell am I watching? What the fuck does this have to do with anything that happened in the episode? Why is this suddenly some history lesson on the development of this game? Why are we just on this island? Why did we introduce these dinosaurs? Why isn't this an episode about a guy trying to avoid the dinosaurs on an island he got trapped on? How did this become an episode where the nerd was yelling at random people to make fake shit, to then having an insightful Q&A from a former developer of the game?
And I was stupid, and I was arrogant, and so we tried to finish in the time allotted, and then we were forced to ship a broken game. I thought it was the end of my career. It was incredibly painful to watch.
Look, I'm a game developer. I don't lack empathy. I know these horror stories. I've seen these horror stories. I appreciate a developer being willing to openly share about his experience, but what the fuck does this have to do with anything that happened?
He took us under his wing and made us feel like we were doing something legitimate. Seeing the love in the Trespasser community is so important and just very beautiful.
What is this about?
Could you send somebody to get me off this bullshit island?
Oh, now it's about leaving the island again.
I'm the one who stranded you here. So I've been baiting and then stranding punk reviewers like you right here on my island.
What the holy fuck?
You want to fight a T-Rex? Fine. Here's a T-Rex.
We just went from this real and heartwarming story about how a community supporting a bad game he worked on touched him, and then he goes heel and claims to trap James on the island. Why does every character seem like they were written by Tommy Wiseau, with every character and every plot thread being completely incoherent and completely erratic? I'm done with this. You want to watch better storytelling? Go turn on Snicks.
The Snicks trilogy was over, and I wish that he would never come back again.
I know it was years ago, but my god. Season 13. Oh, that is the season of shit.
Here comes the last level, or as I like to call it, Clumsy Mountain.
Why don't we go climb the mountain? Yeah. Why can't he say the word mountain? Why can't he do it?
And you might be saying, you like some of these parts. And that's fine, like separately they're all decent or good ideas, but that doesn't mean that together it makes any sense. It's like taking a slice of pizza, placing a bar of chocolate on top of it, then sprinkling some raisins and dumping it in a milky bowl of cereal. Together, it's shit.
Like, how many plot threads? Why does a guy who makes films have no idea how to chart a story from beginning, middle to end? I mean, I know he does, because like Mr. Bucket, I'm loud. It's 2 a.m. It's 2 a.m. People can hear me.
206, Life of Black Tiger.
You might say that tigers are real pussy.
Oh boy, celebrity guest appearances. Always a fan favorite. This is the AVGN Gilbert Gottfried pairing we've all been waiting for?
We just don't have enough washed up, repugnant, drug-addicted, menopausal has-beens.
Actually, as a child of the 80s and 90s, Gilbert Gottfried played at least a small part of it. Back then, we had a bunch of comedians and celebrities who played broad, eccentric characters. Gilbert was a comedian and actor from my hometown in Brooklyn who never broke character.
Bob Saget hands you a chocolate milk that he just made, and you wake up 3 hours later lying on your stomach.
In private, however,
so quiet, he just wanted to take food from the craft services table.
While I wasn't a mega fan, he was a nostalgic part of my childhood and someone who I was always entertained by, even when I didn't realize it.
I can't take it anymore. Fly!
So I was all in, ready to enjoy this.
Let's play something recent for a change. PlayStation 4.
Oh, it's gonna be ass! Do these ever work out?
Sounds like the intro to a massage therapist's website from 1997.
What? Is this one of them Kieran classics?
I could just doze off.
I'll say, prepping us for the worst already?
The controls are a baffling mess, and the tiger moves slower than shit advancing through a sloth's anus. This is the most modern game I've ever played on the show, and it sinks to the furthest depths on the shit scale.
Yeah, but it really doesn't. As the nerd says, it's just a crappy port of a mobile game, so it's just boring with little to say. Hopefully Gilbert can save it.
This could only be the work of one person. A person by the name of Fred Fox.
Gilbert Gottfried's big break, playing Fred Fox on the Angry Video Game Nerd.
Oh boy, it stinks!
And just look at how much energy and chemistry they have.
I soak my clothes in it.
Couldn't you just spray it on the ground?
Okay, you got me.
What's that?
That's my company computer.
Am I watching an ad? And I'm sorry if I'm giving you a low energy review. I'm just working with the low energy material I've got.
Is it made out of coconuts and bamboo?
And hyena feces. It makes Unity run like a son of a bitch.
Who knows less about what they're talking about? Him or him?
You know, I actually got my own PS4 poo.
Now this isn't a great performance by Gottfried, but look at what he has to work with.
I like to spread the gameplay experience as much as I can, so I could get the most out of the $10 that you saps pay for this shit. You might want to be a bit nicer about the game, considering the fact that I'm the one with the motherfucking rifle!
Are you not even gonna make a noise? He's pointing a gun at you and then immediately cuts to...
Finally, that level's over, and even though I only played it for under 4 minutes, it still felt like an eternity.
Like it's just a normal review. The tone is jarring. It's like they're not even in the same room together. They're barely interacting at all.
And it's not the first time I've used Magnum today.
I get it.
That wasn't my edit. Like, did he just add that in to force some kind of reaction?
I'm not educated enough for the guy who talks about buffalo shit in his basement.
They're laughing? Why did they keep that in? Didn't we make fun of this in Plumbers Don't Wear Ties?
Why are people laughing?
I'm going to keep that in the script.
It's an outtake? They left an outtake?
I'm going to use that. I'm going to take
just for a joke?
Why didn't they just redo the line? Was it so magical that it would be impossible to recreate? Was Gilbert's rate so high that they wouldn't dare reshoot it? And poor Gottfried, he was practically on his deathbed filming this, and at least he's trying to put in some kind of performance.
You will join me in showing the world the dark side of the PlayStation Store.
No, I'll never join you.
It's so disjointed and boring.
You only have to survive for 3 minutes, but man, is it the longest damn 3 minutes of your life.
Try 23 minutes.
It just seems padded for no reason.
Oh, fucking A. Is this joke self-aware? Are you fucking with us now? And just look at how the tone changes in literally every sentence in this sequence, unedited.
I said you'd see what I did there!
Ha ha, it's very funny, very funny.
Ha ha!
I gotta say, I love slapping a group of wolves at the same time and watching...
After more boring explanation about an uninteresting game, Gilbert continues to try his improv on the nerd, while James performs like he's in an episode of Rental Reviews.
What? You never went on a murder spree, rampaging and taking the lives of all you see just to impress a sweetie?
Eventually, after killing most...
Wait, we're just gonna cut to the gameplay review after that line? Like, no reaction or interplay at all? Like, there's just no chemistry with James trying to play off this legendary comic.
Tigers! Fucking and sucking constantly! One tiger fucking the other tiger, and the other tiger turns around and sucks that tiger. but the rating board put an end to it.
I don't even want to imagine that. Huh. Oh, wait.
This sucks. Like the nerd has been building up for this Fred Fucks guy for years?
It's Fred Fucks.
It's Fred Fox.
For Fred Fuck's sake. And at the heart of it all, the final boss, my arch nemesis, Fred Fucks.
This is how you react to your arch nemesis? Instead of giving us a tense episode where the nerd finally confronts a guy who has supposedly forced these shitty games on him, we get two guys sitting around in an awful looking jungle, barely even looking at each other. And worse, when James decides to ironically add padding of his own, with no knowledge of how to end the story, we get...
Hey, you fucking kids! Get ready for a rumble in the jungle! Life of Black Tiger! Slap the fuck out of crocodiles, chickens, and wolves! Even bunnies!
This worked in big rigs, but here it just stinks of desperation.
And if that ain't replay value, my name ain't Rex Viper Riggs!
Wait, he has a name? Rex Viper?
Life of Black Tiger!
Only at Fuckoland! Hi, I'm Gilbert Gottfried. If you want a personalized...
At this point in his life, Gilbert Gottfried was struggling with illness and doing what he could to stabilize his health and his finances with roles like this AVGN spot, helping him to promote his cameos. Something about his death was kind of jarring to me. Probably because of how early my memories are of his. With the loss of him, and Pee-wee in particular, I feel like parts of my life are beginning to fade away. This is the last appearance I saw of Gilbert Gottfried. As bad as this episode was, at least I got to see him on my favorite internet show, and that makes this kind of bittersweet. Thanks for the memories, and the entertainment. May you rest in peace. Thanks for watching, and subscribe to be the first to catch each episode reviewed. Next up, F-tier episodes.